He says that we're continuing on how to acquire proper emunah. We spoke last time about how a person has to be grateful, and he has to understand how much good HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us. And as the Rambam says in Yesodei Torah, that what is the way that a person will gain fear and love and fear for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? He says, V'sha'ah she'itbonen, in the second chapter writes, when a person will meditate, Ma'asav broim ha'neflaim gdolim, his great deeds and wonderful creations. V'yireh b'hem chokhmato, he will see the wisdom that Hashem placed in all the creation. She'en la'erech ve'en la'kes. There is no, you'll see the wisdom, there is no end, there's no limit to how great the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's wisdom is when you see the creation. So he goes into great length, explaining how you could start from the smallest things in the world. A person could focus on the atoms and how perplexing, and still they don't fully understand how atoms work 100%, and how small and how amazing they are all work together, and how a physical hard object is made up really of small little atoms packed together. And if you look into it and you zoom in onto every object in the world, you'll see how great and unbelievable the creation is, and you'll see how small these particles are, and at the same time they're so powerful. They're the most dangerous weapon that we have today. They say there's a chazal that says that the war Gog and Magog will be a few seconds, and they ask, how could it be in a few seconds? So they say they'll shoot atom bombs, right, missiles, and the war could be over in a minute, in seconds. You could destroy a whole nation, a whole city in 1 second. But what? How does it come from? Where does it come from? From an atom bomb. You go and Google it. You go and do some research how an atom bomb works. They literally split an atom, and so much energy is released that it just goes up in flames. It destroys the whole city from one little atom. One little atom, you split it in half, and you could destroy a whole city. How much koach Hashem put into the smallest creation. And the flip side, if you go to the biggest scale, you zoom out and you look in the Milky Way galaxy, just the planets. Go compare. They have videos where they compare a person, then a car, then a building, then a skyscraper, then you have the moon, then you have the next planet, Jupiter, and then you have Venus, you have this, you have the sun, in comparison how many Earths fit in the sun, and that the sun is not the biggest star on the whole universe. There's bigger stars than that, and you see how minuscule we are, and how great the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creation is, and how expansive it is, and how great it is, how big it is. A person will realize the great chokhmah that Hashem placed in the world if he runs all these things, and all these things are with very minute details, very to the T. As Avigdor Miller famously always used to say, why is it that the orange is orange on the outside and on the inside it's white? Everything's for a reason. Why is there a peel on a fruit? A person could go and look at a seed, when you place it in the ground, how it decomposes by itself, and it has a whole tree is inside that little seed in the ground, and all of a sudden all this beautiful stuff comes out of it. And the soil, how many living creatures, if you look in a minuscule level, how many animals are in the soil and a piece of dirt, more than maybe the people in New York City would explain. So therefore you see that a person, he just has to look and do a little bit of research and do a little bit of searching in the world, and you'll see how great Hashem is really everywhere. But the point is, you have to focus. You have to do hitbonenut. There's hitbonenut we spoke about yesterday. Chabadnikim, they're very into hitbonenut, which means to focus and contemplate and meditate upon how great something is. And once you focus on it, you'll get yourself that chizuk. And when are you supposed to give yourself this chizuk? He says Shabbat. Shabbat is a person that's supposed to remember that Hashem created the world, yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. All the things we create today, they say in science, there's a law of conservation of matter. There's only a certain amount of energy in the world. We can only shift energy to from one type of energy to a different. We cannot create new things. They still never created a real organic mosquito. They still never created a person born from a lab, not born from a womb. And what they can clone, but they cannot make it their own. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the only being in the world who created something from nothing, we remember that He did this on the Shabbat. We're supposed to remember this, and all this greatness about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creation. How we remind ourselves how great Hashem is, how expansive He is, how unbelievably wise He is. We're supposed to remember on the Shabbat, and not just on the Shabbat. Every day of the week, we say in the Shir Shel Yom, Hayom Yom Sheni LaShabbat, Hayom Yom Shlishi LaShabbat. Every time we have to remember Shabbat during the week also, because that's how important it is. A person who breaks Shabbat, what's the punishment? It's karet. He gets skila. It's a very serious punishment. Why? Because if you don't keep Shabbat and don't remember this stuff on Shabbat, so how are you going to have emunah during the week? How are you going to go and push yourself not to do avirot and to do mitzvot? So that's why it's critical. It's so critical that if you're cut off already, that's it. Your neshama's not going to survive. Your neshama's going to crumble otherwise. Anyways, so therefore that's why it's critical to keep the Shabbat. And he says that a person sits Shabbat table, he eats osvo, he eats bread, he has a meal. he has to remember, he has to sit in the Shabbat table and remind his family, Hashem created the world in 6 and rested on the 7th. He created the world, yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing. And today is the day we have to remember this. And we have to look in our lives and look in the world and remember HaKadosh Baruch Hu created all this. And we have to sit there in Shabbat and remind ourselves. It's not enough that we just go to shul, pray, eat those or go to sleep. You have to use the Shabbat what it's meant for, and that is to remember that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made all these things. And we have to continue to take this with us from the Shabbat to the week. And hopefully this will remind us to do mitzvot and avoid all the Avigdor.